To the Great Transition Senior Living Seminar Series. Today we're going to be tackling the topic of squeezing more out of life as we age to 100. Yes, 100. Super excited about that. Great Transition started back in 2013. It is a system for working with seniors and their families as their lifestyle and housing needs change. We know that as people are planning their life, that it can be 12 to 18 months, sometimes even longer than that, to put a plan together, and we're here to guide you through the entire process. We genuinely believe that helping and guiding seniors is our greatest responsibility. It's a privilege and an honor to care and help for those that have cared for us for so many years and have blazed a trail for us. Our objective here today is to provide education. And every month we want to provide education, legal, financial, housing, medical, all topics related to seniors, even like last month when we had a fun session about travel. We're not here to try and sell you a single thing. We're just here to provide information and ask you an important question. Who's going to be tasked with making decisions for you when you are no longer able to make them for yourself? And will you agree with the decisions that they make on your behalf? So put that in your file cabinet, come back to it from time to time, because it's something that we always need to be thinking about. So when we started promoting this seminar on squeezing more out of life as we age to 100, what most people tell us is that I don't want to live to 100 because I want to be healthy and have all my faculties and things like that. You know, the U.S. Census Bureau in 2024 tells us that there are right now, in 2024, that there are approximately 101,000 centenarians in the United States. Now, those were the ones that responded, so there's probably more. And interestingly, that number is up from 92,000 just a few years ago. So our population is growing. We learned in one of our seminars last year that there are 7 living generations right now. And our lifespan has doubled in the past 150 years. Never happened before. As we were preparing for this seminar, we kept going back. There's a Netflix series that I watched, I guess it was sometime last year, called Living to 100, The Blue Zones. Has anyone seen that program? It's really good. If you have a friend that has Netflix, or even just to get Netflix for a short time to watch it, I highly recommend it. For those of you that haven't seen it, 80% of the people in these areas of the world are living and thriving to 100. And as I watched the series, what I was struck by was they all have different diets. They have physical activity, but it's different in all of these 5 different locations. But there were some common denominators, and we're going to watch a little quick video that tells us about that.
What gives life meaning? In the Blue Zones, it's all about finding your purpose. In Okinawa, they call it Ikigai. In Nicoya, it's Plan de Vida. Both mean why I wake up in the morning. Having a clear sense of purpose can add up to 7 years to your life expectancy. It's about finding joy and meaning in daily life, whether it's through work, hobbies, or relationships. What's your reason to get up in the morning? Discover your purpose and live longer, happier.
That was the common denominator in all of these 5 blue zones, was they had community and they had purpose. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I am really excited to have 2 experts in community and purpose with us today. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves to you. Allie, you want to start?
Hi, I'm Allie DiMaria. I am the Executive Director of the Winter Park Day Nursery. So I work with the little people, 6 weeks to 5 years. But I also, as a nonprofit director, am very engaged in the philanthropic sector and with volunteerism and community engagement and connections. My master's degree is in mental health counseling as well. So I bring a lot of that into my community engagement work that I do.
Awesome. We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
My name's Dan Zagata. My day job for 25 years, I'm a financial planner, financial advisor. But also my non-day job is for about 8 years, I was a professor at Rollins in their lifelong learning, the STARS program, until it got shut down with COVID, and also at Stetson University down in Celebration. So last year, with the help of Dana, who you met, we started the Winter Park Lifelong Learning Foundation in August of last year to bring lifelong learning back to the community because nobody had picked it up after COVID. So we've now had 3 semesters of classes, and we do them at different locations, and it's been pretty awesome.
You have probably seen, we promoted a lot of what Winter Park Lifelong Learning Foundation is offering on our socials, Facebook. Have any of you been to one of the classes for Winter Park Lifelong Learning? Oh.
Shame.
Oh, shame. All right. Just write on your blue form that you're turning in that you want to sign up for a class at Winter Park Lifelong Learning. All right, well, we're going to jump in to the questions. So living to 100 sounds scary, and, you know, we have this vision of retirement. Dan, I want to start with you. When am I too old to get involved and learn new things and volunteer and all that?
Sure. I'll start with a joke. I say it all the time. It's a repetitive joke. But I say, who wants to live to be 100? Nobody raises their hand in the room. And the answer is somebody who's 99. So, you know, and what's been beaten to death is obviously quality of life. You know, some people at 85 might say, I don't want to go another year. Somebody at 110 might say, everything is great. And things change as you progress in family and all of that. But you're never too old to experience new things or learn new things. As a financial planner for 25 years, I have retired over 2,000 times with people. I've seen people go through things which they're going through for the first time in their life, and their only frame of reference is their parents that lived 25 years before them and totally didn't have the same situation. So as you age, you want to experience new things, learn new things. Even if you have no clue what it is that you're learning, it stimulates the brain, but it also might help you discover interests that you didn't know you had, or back in your working days, you were like, I didn't have the time for it. And now you do. And you want to always improve yourself and be better.
Love that. Allie, how do you feel about this topic?
I look at it from a brain development standpoint.
Oh, okay.
With the young children, their brains are growing and learning in the early stages. However, as we age, the connections in our brain tend to lessen when we don't use them. So the more we use our brain, the more we learn new things, we're basically exercising our brain and keeping our brain healthy and moving. So in order to keep your brain healthy, you have to continue educating yourself and learning new things, and having conversations in different perspectives. The other way to build your brain is also by building connections. There's a famous psychologist that we use in early childhood that reminds us that connections on the outside build connections on the inside. So the more that you're connecting both knowledge and people on the outside world, you're building connections in your brain as well to keep your brain healthy and
When
moving.
you say building connections in the brain, is that the synapses and the neural?
Yes, I don't know I'm not a brain scientist.
Right.
So I don't have the specific terms, but yes, those are your neural connections, building like the myelin sheath and stuff, all of that, all of those connections are built when you use them. When you stop using them is when they start to disintegrate and stop being useful because they haven't been flexed, they haven't been exercised.
We don't think of our brain as a muscle.
Correct.
But it acts like one.
It does. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Dan, what other benefits can you come up with to a senior learning something new?
Sure. First thing is,
That's okay,
that
I got
sheet
you.
that was on your chair lists 6 benefits, which is really great. So these are the default ones, which I will not mention again. But there's other ones involved too, which is you just become a more interesting person and people like you better. Because you know why? When you know things, you can have deeper conversations. People want to engage with you. You know, we were giving a class, this was last semester, and a gentleman kind of, it was before class started, strolled past and was like, oh, what's going on? We said it's lifelong learning. And he goes, I'm too old. There's nothing left for me to learn. I go, then what's left in life? It's over. You're just done. What do you do next? If you don't want to learn something new, experience something new. I mean, it is literally what we do. It's what we try to make our children do too. So why do you stop doing that for yourself? And there is so much out there that you can experience. And I think sometimes people give up. And I think probably you may have seen friends, family, could be parents, grandparents, that you're like, you know what? They've crossed that line. They've kind of given up. And you just don't want to. You know, and I think that's a major benefit to always keeping you going and always keeping you engaged in life. I teach a cybersecurity class. I've done it now 5 semesters in a row, and I get the same people that take it 5 times in a row because it's so foreign to them, but they want the engagement. They want to learn something new and be as informed as they can possibly be. So
Love that. And we talk about that here in our seminar series too, because we touch on similar topics throughout the year. Like we always do a financial topic and we always do a legal topic. And you always come back to hear it because you're going to hear it differently because your situation changes.
yeah.
There's new things that have come down the pike, so you want to learn about that. I love that. And not that it's repetitive because you do glean different things out of it. Allie, let's talk about volunteer opportunities because we know that that can be something that is super enriching for people's lives. If I'm going to look for a volunteer, let's say someone in the audience wants to look for a volunteer opportunity, do they have to commit to, 20 hours a week and sweaty work or changing diapers at the Winter Park Day Nursery?
We'll let you do that, so it's okay. I don't even want that job. There are so many opportunities, and there are so many options that don't require a consistent schedule necessarily. My advice is to just try something. There are so many nonprofit organizations, so many public service organizations, whether it be the public school system, whether it be our assisted living communities, whether it be the library. There are so many organizations that really use volunteers, the hospitals. That really need that extra set of hands because they don't have in their budget to have those extra people on hand. They're just trying to move the needle and impact their customers or their clients. So if you want to volunteer, there's a lot of resources out there. There's the Heart of Florida United Way has a volunteer page on their website. There's an organization called Hands on Orlando that organizes volunteers. There's options for everyone. There's also every community has at least 3 or 4 local Rotary clubs that do community service or Kiwanis clubs. And they also are great ways to A, connect with people, B, engage in community service activities. That was a shameless plug because I'm a Rotary Club of Winter Park. I'm coming in as the president, so if you'd like to join me in our service, let me know. But we also just try something. You can reach out to one of those. And this is a really interesting way to kind of see what your purpose is. Sometimes, maybe you're like, well, I want to try working in the library because I love the books. They have a cool used bookstore that I go to all the time. They need help there. I love looking at books, so I want to go there and check that out. Oh, well, I don't want to stand and work on this all day, so maybe I will go to the NICU and hold babies. There's something for everyone. If you don't want to go somewhere, maybe you have a knitting club. We knit hats for the babies in the NICU, or we sew blankets for the preschool for their nap time, those sorts of things. So there are so many options out there. If you just Google like volunteering in Orlando, you'll probably find something. But I also say talk to your neighbors, talk to your kids, talk to your grandkids, and kind of see what things they're interested in, how you can engage in that. My dad at 70 referees and coaches my niece's soccer teams. That's his way of engaging because that's what he brings to the community. So there's so many different ways. A quick Google search or just call me. I'll give you my number and I'm happy to, if you tell me what you're interested in, connect you with a nonprofit. You have some great people that were up here standing earlier that probably also know a lot of good organizations that you could support or ways that you could volunteer your time.
Yeah. Melanie, you shared a video with me of a lady that was a volunteer of the year in a sewing group. And they take cloth donations and they're making everything for products for senior living communities to children. And she just found such joy in being able to do that. Probably had been sewing for all of her life. Yeah, that's really cool.
She's in her mid-80s.
Mid-80s. And still showing up every week to,
Yeah, and she just won Volunteer of the Year from the Christian Service Center.
Wow.
okay, yeah.
Another good nonprofit. There you go.
Yeah, Christian Service Center.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay, awesome. And I mean, churches have a lot of groups that
Churches
are doing things like that. I served a church down in South Florida, and they had a sewing group that would, the ladies, they were so funny. They would go out, there was an organization called Redlands Christian Migrant Association, and they would go out and measure the kids and come back and make outfits for them. And they just took such joy in being able to provide a custom-made outfit.
We had a sewing group at the Mayflower made sheets for all of the cots for our students for their nap time. So they took people's old sheets, flat sheets that they didn't need, that they were disposing of, and we made sheets
Cut them
out
up
of them.
and made,
Made small sheets, yeah.
love that. That's very cool. One of the things that we spend our careers talking about our purpose, right? Gary Keller, who founded Keller Williams, talks about your big why. And if you can connect with your big why, it makes your career easier. Gladys showed us today what her big why is, and she's actually working in it now, which I think is really, really cool. But when you reach those retirement years, your big why and your purpose might be called into question a little bit, right? So what do I do? So I'd like to start with you, Dan. How do we find and connect with our purpose in post-retirement years?
I think just like the question that was asked in the beginning, you know, if you didn't have to work, money was no object, what would you do? And not to call her out, but besides Gladys, she's the only one that's like, I keep doing what I was doing. Everybody else had something else. That is more normal. So that is more normal. And it's just the way we're built in American society. When somebody meets you, they say, hi, Cheryl's in the front row. I can read your name tag. Hi, what's your name? Cheryl. And then what do I ask her? What's my second question? What do you do? Okay. And right after you retire, it becomes, what did you do? Because she'll answer, I'm retired. I say, oh, well, what did you do? But then after a couple of years, it's like, nobody asks. And it actually psychologically really damages people a little bit because they feel irrelevant. Like you're not working, you're not contributing to society anymore. So that's where like the purpose really comes into play from a psychological standpoint of what is your purpose? And it does not have to be grandiose. You don't need to cure world hunger. You don't need to save the planet, but you can do something small that's important to you or important to other people. And similar to when I see when our clients want to give money to a charity or be philanthropic, do you know that actually one of those things that stops them is they say, well, my money isn't very much. It doesn't make a big impact. And it stops people from giving. Because giving $100, they're like, well, why would I give $100 to this big organization? It doesn't matter. And sometimes with volunteerism or even learning, that same feeling comes into effect where it's just like, well, if I do this thing, it doesn't really affect enough people. I don't feel like it's big enough. And you have to rewire your brain to understand, and this is okay to say, it's also about you. Mm-hmm. You can be selfish about it. It's about your self-enjoyment and something that gives you purpose for what you want to do. And ask yourself that question. You know, if you are now retired and you had unlimited time, what would you do? What do you want to do? What do you want to do that maybe you don't know how to get into, that you don't know what the next steps are? I gave a talk at the Mayflower. It was a breakfast talk. And this question that's on the back, if money were not an object, what would you do? Well, I rephrased it to them. I said, everybody in this breakfast, you have $5,000. What do you want to buy? I already knew the answer. I don't ask questions unless I know the answer. So I already knew what it was going to be. And most of the answers were, well, I don't really need anything. I don't really want anything. I said, that's not the rule. You have $5,000 and you have to spend it. And you can't just give it to your kids. As much as they're a charity case, they don't count. So what would you do? And they literally couldn't think about it. I go, let me give you ideas. Okay? Buy that 1962 Edsel, 1952 Edsel that you had. okay, that doesn't run, and just park it in the parking lot, sit in it, play with it. Your first car, your first video game, your first magazines that you had. Do something fun that everybody tells you is stupid and doesn't make sense. But like, find your purpose through redeveloping both your past and what the next steps are, and pick a project. You know, this is a long answer, I apologize. But, you know, this is a great one. Do Ancestry.com. Learn about your family. And when it gets real technical, get your kids and your grandkids. Say, find this document from 1854 in the archives in Italy. Give them 6 hours on the internet, they'll find it. It would take you like never. You'll never find it.
You have to write some letters.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But like, engage people in your process. Engage people in your purpose. Like, you don't have to go it alone either.
Right.
So lean on people. It's super fun. And sometimes when it's complicated, it's actually more fun. So.
And that was one of my son is 13, and he gets, the one way I can get him engaged with his grandparents and his great aunts is through family history, photo albums, learning. One of the ways we can build our brains is to teach or to share our own stories and our own lessons that we've learned in our life. And that's the one son. My son is a video game, I tell you, video games. But he will stop and he will engage with grandparents and older adults when it comes to learning about their heritage and how things were when they were his age. He pulled up a game and he's like, Mom, this was in the 1980s. Look at how old it is. And I go, pumpkin. I think you mean the 1890s because it was the Old West. So we had to have a little bit of a history lesson there. But that's how, you know, we have to meet them where they are. And so talk to people of different generations and really engage them in, you know, what your interests are, but also learning about their interests.
I want to add to that.
Yeah.
It's a little bit your fault, okay? Because the last time you sat with your kids or grandkids and said, let me tell you about when I was 10. Let me tell you about my growing up. Let me tell you what I went through. Because as you get older, sometimes you think, one, people don't care, or it's not important, or this or that. You have to preserve that stuff. My grandmom's 100 years old, okay?
Wow.
And she lives up in New York in her old house that she's lived in for 80 years. And when I go up to visit her, because she doesn't even know what this is, I ask her questions and I put it on the table and I turn my video on and I film her the entire time. She has no idea. And I just let her talk. Because those are things I want to remember. So like, you have to give back. Don't wait for people to ask you questions. You know, kids, they got like a 30-second attention span. So engage them and let them write it down. Let them record it. Because we lose so much stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's really good. Thank you.
you're welcome.
So what opportunities are out there? Let's say everybody in the room is feeling a little bit of conviction right now.
Yes.
And they know that they need to get plugged in somewhere. So what opportunities are out there to help them get re-engaged in the community? And let's say I'm not living at the Mayflower or at Westminster or at Village on the Green or Allegro or Watercrest. How am I going to find all of this? Where, you know, how can I get connected? Because I don't connect with my neighbors in the neighborhood I'm at, really, other than, hey, how you doing? Fine, see you later.
Yep. Okay, so again, Allie mentioned a bunch of great organizations, okay? You are sitting in one right now. So there are people next to you that live in your community. But here's the deal. People get shy. It's weird to meet new people, especially as you're older. Sometimes you don't want to. They might be weird. You're like, I don't want to talk to that person. But you have to put yourself out there. Nobody's going to hurt you. The worst thing is you go to something, you're like, that's not for me. Don't go back. It got you out of the house. Go have lunch. That's it. Like, you have to really put things in perspective of what they are and experience them, because you need to connect, like, outside of your house.
So don't sit and overthink it.
No, I believe in not thinking at all. That sometimes takes you to even a better place.
Says the educator.
Yes.
Okay, professor, let's move along. Allie, what do you think about that?
Well, don't know how to follow that. I'm going to encourage you to think, but not overthink. But just make a decision and try something. I mean, it can't hurt. Like, worst case, you have a nice cup of coffee with Beth, and she encourages you to make some connections and do some things because she offered in it, and if she's buying, I'm there. So, I mean, I don't have my wealth yet, so I'll call you later. But just connecting with someone. So if you leave here today having met someone else and said, hey, let's go get coffee and talk about what we're interested in, you might have that purpose. I'm very much an external processor. I have to have conversations to come up with ideas. I have, otherwise I talk to myself and people get confused. So find somebody that you can talk to, that you can bounce ideas off of, that you can say, well, what did you like to do? What is your goal? What do you want to do with $1 million? And really have that conversation with somebody, whether it's here after one of these meetings, whether you go meet for lunch after this, or whether it's your grandkid or your child, whatever the case may be, your sibling. What interests me? What is my purpose? What do I have a passion for? Is it kids? Is it animals? Is it reading? Is it, I just want to travel. That's fine too. I think that's a huge thing. You can go travel and then share your stories with your grandkids or your great nieces, or you can go have you can mentor a kid at one of the public schools and share with them while they're learning about history and geography. You can tell them the story about when you visited that area. So that just makes you more interesting. So have those conversations with someone, whether it's here. If you want coffee with me too, I'm happy to do so. You can buy me coffee. It'll be lovely.
Love that. We talked in our planning session about getting to know someone from each decade of life.
We did, yes.
Yep.
And how that can make you think.
That came from a 92-year-old student I had in my class. This was probably 6 years ago. It was pre-COVID. And she goes, I'm going to give you a secret. You got to be friends with somebody from every decade. A 10-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. And she's like, it could be a family member, but they have a completely different perspective on life and what's going on. And although you might not even really connect or understand what some of the words are that they're using and what they're talking about, it allows you to not be in the dark. It allows you to not be just so closed off to like new things and new ideas. It's interesting. It's interesting.
Love that. Frequently, it's the stories of others that inspire us. And so benefits of finding community and getting plugged into community. Do you guys have a story that maybe you could share with us of someone that you know that has benefited from becoming part of a community, how it has changed their lives? And I actually am going to start while you're thinking. Cool. We had a lady that moved to a senior living community last fall. And we were working with her. Once she got situated, then we had to sell the house and work through all of that. But I went to her apartment one day and I said, where's your cane? And she said, the doctor said I don't need it. I'm going to balance class a couple times a week, and I'm more active, and my brain is working better because I'm engaging with people, so I don't need it. So she was physically improving her health from having those community connections rather than being isolated in her home, near downtown Orlando. So that was I thought that was a great story. Anybody else got a story? Alan?
I mean, honestly, very similar to yours.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law, my father-in-law passed away about 4 years ago, and she was still living in her home, a big 4-bedroom house, and we found out she had been falling and she had a spinal challenge, but we ended up finally getting her help. She was in skilled nursing for about 8 months, 9 months, and then she was finally able to move to assisted living. So she's now in Westminster, assisted living downtown, and she's walking with a walker. She had been in a wheelchair. She had been in the bed and in the wheelchair for a good year and a half.
Wow.
And she's had a lot of physical therapy. She actually has a home health care aide that comes and works with her as well, in addition to what the assisted living staff does. But she's on a walker. We actually took her to the dentist on Monday. She walked to the car, got in the car, got out. She didn't have to be transported in her wheelchair by a van. And so by being in a community where she's able to receive all those supports, and that she has lunch with the same friends every day.
Yeah.
She has dinner with the same friends every day. She's having communication. She's motivated to continue building up her muscles, and she brags, Allie, I'm walking. Did you see this? Do you see how well I'm walking? I was like, Mom, you're doing a great job. So
Well, and that's hard
having
as-
that support system.
As we age, it's like, what's the point?
Right.
I'm not seeing the progress that I saw in my 20s when I lifted weights and I got a muscle.
Right.
You know?
And there's they come to her to do her physical therapy. So she has that support that's constantly coming and reminding her. I have friends that I say, if you don't call me, I will not get together with you because I'm not good at that. So I rely on my friends to reach out to me and say, it's time, we're going out.
But that was a lot for her to put herself
It
out
was.
there to say, I really stink at making friends or organizing events, but would you please call me?
Yes. Yes, exactly. And that's what we do is we say, we find, where we want somebody to help encourage us or to support us. And that person can kind of be our go-to. Like you have a friend that maybe you say, hey, let's go to all of these seminars every month and let's go together because this is our commitment to each other. It's like your gym, like to get to the gym. I'm like, if I have somebody that's my buddy that's like, okay, we're going, I'm less likely to back out because I've made that commitment to someone else.
So accountability is
Accountability
important
partners.
at any age.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Dan, what about you? Story?
Sure. Let's start with the reverse story. So benefits of community as we age. We all experienced COVID, and we all watched people decline when they could not interact with community. So we have proof that community interaction is a positive thing. And I think, the benefits which we've talked about, which is that connection to be with people, but it's also a crazy list of excuses that a lot of people will develop. Some are real, some are not, of why they cannot interact or why they can't do certain things. I love excuses because everything to me is just a problem-solving exercise. But, we've heard it all. I don't have transportation, I can't get there. I'm busy because I have a doctor's appointment 3 weeks from now, so today I can't go to lunch. We've all heard that stuff. We know, like, for your 30-minute teeth cleaning, we block off 6 days, 3 in front and 3 behind. I know it all, but there's truth in stuff too, which is anxiety or emotional barriers that make it difficult to engage. And I think, as Allie was saying, when you have consistency with a group of people, you have consistency with going out, you have consistency with experimenting with things. The benefit is you get to lower those negative emotions, the anxieties, the fears, and the things like that. And, I'll share a personal story. My mother, she lives in Maitland. You wouldn't know it probably by looking at me, but she's like 4'11". Okay? She's very self-conscious about it. And so sometimes she wears lifter shoes and it throws off her balance and things, but then she won't use a cane because she's self-conscious about that. And it's just like a cycle of stuff. And like I have to sit with her. I say, one, which I'm fine if you do it, but you're not dating right now, so you're not out to impress anybody by your height. And you got to get out of the house. You got to go interact with people. And I think that's one of the benefits is to reshape your brain, to be okay with taking some risks. One of the things, I've been described as being 114 years old before, mentally, but we really get into a groove and a rhythm that we do not want to get out of. And that includes sitting home alone, doing things that make us feel comfortable, saying no when people invite us to do things. And that is not an age thing. No. That is every generation, every age, people have just really gotten into this zone of being in a bubble and liking things the way they like them and they don't want to leave them. If you don't leave that bubble, if you don't leave that system, you will never learn something new. Yeah. You will never experience something new. So if you have anxiety, I think a good thing to do is if you're faced with a new opportunity, just actually write down what you're scared of. And you'll find out it's nothing. It's really nothing. Like your worst case scenario of going to lunch with a new friend you met in this room is the conversation was really bad and you won't go to lunch with them again. That's like your worst case scenario. Yeah. And you can deal with that. And I think we need to be able to deal with stuff a little bit better than we currently do. So.
Or if the anxiety is really bad, I'm going to
Yeah.
say don't tell them just to do it.
Yep.
That's my mental health background. I'm sorry. Get a therapist. I mean,
Yes.
like there's so many resources. I know the Alzheimer's Dementia Resource Center can offer suggestions as well, but I think finding somebody to talk to it with. There's a lot we're going through at any stage, but I am a huge advocate for finding a therapist if you need to work through some of your anxieties. Because if it's keeping you home, you're all here, so you've obviously taken that first step. You can do therapy virtual. Most therapists want to do virtual sessions these days, which is really frustrating. But regardless, find somebody to talk to, whether it's a certified therapist, a counselor, a friend. Find somebody to talk through that with who's
I have a
knowledgeable.
client who is still working. She's 80 as a therapist, and she does mostly Zoom sessions.
Well, Yep.
For
I was
her
trying to
home,
get my
couple days
husband
a
an
week.
in-person session, and it's just hard to find. Yeah.
But just catch what she said. A
therapist.
licensed therapist.
Right.
Your friend, although they might be nice, is not probably a therapist.
Right.
Use your Medicare benefits. That's what they're there
there
for.
you go.
Spend your Medicare.
Wait,
Go
that
have some
works for
sessions.
therapy?
Sometimes.
Yeah, it depends what you have.
Yep.
But there's also organizations that offer lower cost sessions for therapy, like the Jewish Community Center, I think, one of the
Grace
Christian
Counseling.
Servicing, Grace Counseling. There's a lot of organizations that offer reduced rate. You can call United Way's 211. They can probably offer you therapeutic services, resources as well that are at a discounted rate as well.
Grace Counseling just opened up a whole new. They're now the largest counseling center
Oh, good.
in Orlando, and they are they provide need-based
Good.
scholarship help. If you
I think
need
I
it,
recall
so.
them, yeah. But so
yeah.
that I am a huge proponent of if you're feeling that anxiety and it's keeping you from flourishing, then talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And you are not therapists. Which means with that one friend that just sits in front of you and complains all day long about everything, you don't have time to listen to that. Get rid of negativity
My
in your
husband
life.
doesn't like it when I tell him that.
You should find a new husband.
will.
No, it is.
When I say I'm not your
Tell it
therapist.
like it is.
I could be blunt, but don't allow negativity to really enter into your social life. I think it's really damaging. And okay, my back hurts today. That's the limit of the complaint for today. Now let's talk about good stuff. Let's talk about happy stuff. It really changes the dynamic, and you'd be surprised how much people just complain, especially about stuff they can't control.
Right.
If you can't fix it, don't talk about it.
And we know that type of talk breaks those neural connections and the brain does not work as well. All right, so Dan, with these learning opportunities, you talked about teaching at Rollins and things like that. Like, are these things, the education portion, are they expensive? Like, is it going to cost me money to take a class at Winter Park Lifelong Learning?
Sure.
Or, there's a fee to take a class at a senior center or something?
I think there are both cost options and free options. Okay, so you got to look at the options and see what you want to do. I'll talk about Winter Park Lifelong Learning. So the way it's structured, which we actually adopted exactly from Rollins, it's $35 for a course, okay, or $150 for the entire semester, unlimited courses. Okay, 100% of the money goes to Valencia to help Winter Park resident students who are at risk of dropping out because they can't pay their tuition. So there's already an endowed scholarship for it. So every dollar comes in. And I'm going to let you in on a secret. The reason why every lifelong learning program does this is because if there isn't even a little bit of money involved, people sign up and they don't show up.
Right.
And we have some of the best instructors. We have professors from the universities that give their time and volunteer to do this. So we want to make sure the course content is super high quality. These are not a 1 hour lecture, okay? The courses are 3 weeks long. There's a syllabus, there's material, no homework, but it's really engaging. It's designed to be a little bit over your head, so you gotta think. You gotta be exposed to something new. But there are many free opportunities to take classes and courses at webinars, at the library, at the wellness center. There's so many different things out there. So I don't think you have to stick to cost or no cost, but look at what you want. I mean, what we've been doing, we've done intro to Arabic, marine archaeology. We did automotive history. We had an Etzel, we had some Fiats brought up, some Lotus cars brought in. So we did a history lesson, then brought everybody out to the cars and we got to play around in the cars. Pick stuff that you're really intrigued by, or you don't know if you're intrigued, but you want to try it out. So,
Well, and I think that,
oh,
we'll have,
Want to add something. I
Sure.
teach classes all the time at Valencia, and I don't pay a penny.
yep.
And if you're over 55, you audit, and I've been doing it for 5 years.
okay.
So
That I'm glad. Thank you for saying that. So here's something even more interesting. Okay, I love Valencia, but let's go up a notch. You can take an entire bachelor's degree program at Harvard, Yale, or Stanford for free online. You do not get a diploma. You are not a graduate, but they live stream and record the entire course. You want to learn about molecular biology at Harvard? You can take the whole course online. Now, again, we're kind of advocating getting out of your house and doing things, but turn it into something fun. Bring your friends over, open a bottle of wine, and learn how the universe was created. Who knows? So thank you for saying that, because many of the universities do have courses that you can audit for free, which is pretty intriguing too.
you can audit any course.
Yeah.
You can get permission from the
From the
professor.
instructor, yeah.
Love that. So Allie, if I was gonna commit to doing one thing, to get re-engaged, maybe for the first, or get engaged for maybe the first time, what's my best first step?
Well, this is the obvious first step. You're here. So you're obviously interested in learning more and becoming engaged in the community. So I think that's one of your best bets. If you're not already, be a member of your local library. The Winter Park Library here is absolutely amazing. But I know a lot of libraries, they have a lot of engagement activities, volunteer opportunities. Talk with a friend or Beth here and talk about what your passion is and try something. Look for one opportunity to engage in your community, whether it's at a pet shelter, at a childcare center, at a school, with your church. Pick one thing to try and see if that matters, and figure out what you want your purpose to be. And it can change. It doesn't have to be for the next 20 years the same purpose. I mean, you have as they say, my son couldn't figure out why this was a thing, but the world is your oyster, as they say. So we had to look up why that was a saying. But you have an opportunity to do whatever you want and to make whatever you want your passion. So if it was your passion when you were a child, or when you were working, you were like, I don't want to do this, I want to do something else, then go do that. I mean, when I was a kid, I pretended to be a teacher. I'm still not technically a teacher, but if I had $1 million, I would probably volunteer in the public school system and work with young children. But I think figure out what that is and try something. Try one thing.
I would say first, write something down today. A project, an interest, just one word that kind of engages wow, that's really funny, because that's exactly what I was going to say, and I did not know that slide was going to come up. No excuses, okay? And do not procrastinate. Nothing annoys me more than people that procrastinate about stuff. Unless you have, 16 hours of activities planned every single day for the next week, then do not say you don't have time to look something up, sign up for something, engage with something. You just got to do it, and it's that first step. Allie mentioned the gym. It's really interesting. It's not what you do at the gym, but the most successful people just go. They even did a study where people would go to the gym, but they had anxiety or they didn't want to go in. They went in and they left. They went in and they left. And that behavior started to change over just less than 5 days. And they started to be more comfortable. So it's just little steps. But if you take no step, it's like inflation. You're going backwards. Okay? So you have to be advancing at least a little bit all the time. Sign up for something. Just do it, as Nike would say.
I think we touched on popular places for seniors to volunteer at a little bit earlier. And we gave you a long list, and we'll definitely revisit those in the notes. So we're putting all this stuff into practice. We're writing things down. We're connecting with a friend. How do we know when we have found our purpose at this point in our life? So I'm doing these things. What tells me that I'm working in my purpose?
You feel good. You're happy. I don't think your purpose is a non-moving thing. I think it is fluid. I think it changes, could change day to day. I think you have big purposes, little purposes, today's purpose, this year, next year, whatever it is. So I think, you have a lot of things you're working on at all times, even though you might not realize it. But you know your gut. You know if like you're in a good place or not in a good place. And I think even when you're in a good place, you can always be in a better place. I had a professor in college said nobody gets an A because an A is perfect and you can always be better. So the best grade you could get was an A-. Nobody liked this person, but they were a really good teacher. But when you kind of follow that philosophy, you're like, I could just always be happier or give happiness to somebody else. And I think I deal with money. That's what I do. I'm a financial planner. And things have really, really changed. I'll end with this quick story. 22 years ago, I'm working in Miami, and I have a client. Her name is Bella, and at that time, she was 78 years old, 22 years ago. She was widowed, lived completely off her Social Security, had $2.5 million in her checking account. It would not go out to Denny's for breakfast because that was stealing money from her children. Those are her words. Stealing money from her children.
I'm going to adopt me.
Fast forward to today, I meet with 75-year-olds who are like, I'm spending every dollar I got. If there's anything left, good luck. I raised them, I fed them, I sent them off, that's it. So like people tend to fall between those two extremes, and everybody's somewhere different in that middle. But what is happening, and I encourage my clients to do this, an inheritance is nice. But experiences while you are around to see it is better. Yeah. Take trips, send people on trips, do activities together, spend your money with them because it's not happy to get a check after somebody's died. Okay? So, now don't make yourself destitute by spending all your money while you're alive. But talk to somebody, but do things now. And if you're still active, do the active things now while you still can. I mean, I love, and this is going to blow your, it sounds like a lot. It is a lot of money. But like I'll get a phone call and a client's going to say, just the other day, guy's 82. He's taking his kids and all his grandkids to Italy for 2 weeks. And he's like, it's $96,000. And I said, great, do it. He's got the money for it. But I said, great. Because he's going to be there and he's going to experience it. That, I think, is what the purpose now is.
His family will never forget it.
And the family will never forget it. Family doesn't care about the 96 grand split 9 ways that they get after you're dead. That 10 years from now, that's not even to buy like a cup of coffee. So create the experiences, and I think that's the purpose, is happiness.
That's awesome. Allie, what can you add to that?
When I think about purpose, I think it's different for everyone, and it does change. There's the story about the guy on the beach throwing the starfish back into the ocean. And he throws a starfish, and he picks up another one and throws it back into the ocean. And somebody comes up and he says, why are you doing that? It's not going to make a difference. And he says, it makes a difference to that one, the one that he threw back in. And so that's something I live by both in my work and in my life is I may not be making a huge difference in the world. My $100 donation may not be making a huge impact. My 2 hours of volunteerism may not make a huge impact, but it will make a difference to one person that I'm affecting in that. Whether that one person is you, because it makes you feel good about yourself, then you're making an impact on yourself by doing that. If it's like I'm helping pack food bags for this kid so that they don't get hungry over the weekend from school when they're not being fed, I've impacted this one child. So that's, I think, to focus on. Don't try to, if your purpose is to change the world, God love you, please do it, because we need that. But if you're making an impact on one person, whether that person is you or someone outside of yourself, that's impactful and that's important. So I, remind my staff all the time is, we can't necessarily control what happens to our children when they go home, but we can give them as much love and care as we can while they are in our presence. And that will continue on with them, and they will carry that with them because they know what it feels like to truly be loved and cared for and appreciated. So really making that connection with someone or something and saying, well, it made a difference for that person or that animal or that entity.
Yeah.
And we have proof that that works.
Yes.
Because every person in this room can think back 50, 60 years and remember that one teacher that made an impact on them. Mr. or Mrs. whoever. And like, that was their purpose. That's a teacher's purpose, is to have an impact on one child, 2 children. And so it works. We know it works.
Who has a question? And I've got educational partners. I think you guys have the microphones, so we're gonna give us just a second. We've got one up here. Dana will come up here. Kathleen.
I just wanted to mention, I am having a very special thing happen this weekend. Former Tai Chi student of mine is going to celebrate her 100th birthday.
Wow.
And I'm going to this giant celebration her family is having. And she credits having gotten involved with Tai Chi at about age 85 with still being alive at 100. So I feel very touched that she, feels that way. But I do think it did contribute. And the fact that her husband had just died, she was looking at something to do in her life, and she went out and tried it and stuck with it.
So that's great. If an 85-year-old can go learn something new, because that's muscle memory and all that stuff, breathing differently, and put that into practice, and she's thriving, it sounds like, at 100.
She is.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Do we have another question?
Okay, I'm 65 plus.
Okay.
I already went through your process, so when I retired, I wanted to find something. And I found genealogy, which is what you touched on the surface.
Yep.
Now, I've been in it for about, I won't even say, many, many years. And it's extremely rewarding.
Yep.
Number one, it's something to leave to your children and grandchildren. I've written 4 books on it over the years.
Awesome.
Okay, now, what you're doing also is you can leave something here on this earth, because when you write a book, you can put it into the Library of Congress and it will be there for 100 years. Okay? It's very rewarding, and you meet a lot of people in a genealogy society.
Yep.
So that's one place where you can meet people and discuss it and go over it. So I agree completely, but it's a very, very good hobby, and I
Yep.
agree with you. And I'm not pushing ancestry. You do a lot of other work with
Sure.
the LDS.
Yep.
You have facilities there, many.
And if you're interested in that, you should sign up for the Winter Park Lifelong Learning Ancestry course that was just given last semester to learn how to do that. Yep, because I agree with him 100%.
That's great.
And it's personal to you.
Yeah.
And I
Like
think,
it's your stuff.
I think one of the things that I like about that topic is it's legacy work. And
Yeah.
money is not, I said this to my mother the other day, money's not your legacy. It's what's in your heart that's your legacy to
Yeah.
us. And so I think doing something like that sounds fascinating, and ChatGPT can even help with that.
If you trust it.
We're going to talk about that next month. Any other questions? Right here in the front.
I used to take.
Hold on just a second, Sharon. Let's get the microphone right there.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I used to take classes that lifelong learning over at Rollins.
Yep.
So you're saying they started it up again? Because for years they haven't done.
No, it closed down. They did not start it. So we started a new foundation, which has been up and rolling since August of last year. And we have courses every semester, both at the Mayflower, that's open to everybody, the whole public, and at the library.
And we'll send you the link so you can go to their website and get registered.
Yep.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Do we have one in the back? Melanie, you had a question?
I have another question.
Okay, just one second. Let's get Melanie in the back first.
Yeah. Thanks. This is sort of an anti-home care statement, but we had a client who was turning 100, and so it's kind of your 99. She did not want to turn 100.
Oh,
And we had beautiful caregivers with her. She was a lovely lady. She is a lovely lady. Did not want to turn 100. And her family decided to put her in an assisted living. and she's having a blast.
So she found community and purpose despite her not wanting to.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
She's on her way to 101 now.
That's awesome.
You know, so I'm my grandmom's favorite grandkid, so we have a special
are?
relationship.
That's
Yes,
what
I
you
am.
How many
Okay.
does
No,
she
she
have?
tells me 4.
Oh, okay.
No,
I
she
thought
tells
you might just have one.
No, she tells me and the other 3. But because of that, so I talk to her all the time, and I'm like, "How you doing?" She's like, "Oh, not good. My back hurts today." She can't really walk. She's like, "My legs hurt." I go, "Stop complaining. Do you know what the alternative is to your leg pain? No pain, because you're not here anymore. So stop complaining and eat more food." She eats more food than anybody I've ever seen, which is great. But you got to put things in perspective, because I agree with what she said. You know, it's like, what's keeping you going? And yeah, we all have detractors. Everybody in life does. Doesn't matter what your age is. You have things that are always kind of like holding you back, and you got to break through and look at the alternative of what those things could be if you didn't have those things.
Any other questions? All right, Carl, we'll wrap up with you.
I'm in the process for 10 months trying to get collection on long-term care. And the insurance company is not very helpful. Where can I get help going and navigating the insurance company? Are there any advocate groups? Where do I find help?
My husband just went through that, actually.
Yeah, go ahead. Take
Well, he figured it out himself, just
Yeah.
calling and talking, but I don't know if you have a resource. I was just saying, we feel you because we just went through that.
Yeah, I think the starting point would be, like, depending what the policy is, if it's Hancock, Genworth, whatever it is, would
I've
be
been paying for 26
to an insurance agent that
that help you.
like maybe an attorney.
That's what I was thinking.
Florida
Yeah.
Insurance
I
Agency.
think-
Oh, the Florida Insurance Commission. I just don't know if they're going to advocate on your behalf for that or not. But it's worth a call.
I'm gonna think on that and see if we know of
Yeah.
anybody to follow up.
Yeah, well, we've got some resources in the room, and we'll see if we can work on that for you. Any other questions about the topic at hand today? All right. Well, I am grateful that you all came. You are our connection to the world. We got a first-time visitor here because Mike connected with his friend, and so we're grateful for that. We encourage each of you to do that because we do have some empty seats here. Now, you are gonna want to come next month because we're going to be doing some thinking. Our topic is going to be our 3rd seminar in our Upskilling Your Life series. It's going to be on June 18th, and we are going to tackle the topic staying safe and avoiding fraud in today's ever-changing world. And we have an amazing expert that is going to come and share her plethora of knowledge with us. We're going to pick her brain and find out how to stay safe, because it's a tough world out there. There's a lot going on.
Yep.
We do need your blue sheets, and we do encourage you or remind you to write your name on the bottom, please. We usually always get one that doesn't have a name on it, and they wanted to talk to somebody or get connected with somebody. We can't get you connected if we don't do that. But you can go ahead and register for next month's seminar on there. And our educational partners, or Nicole or Susan or I, will be happy to take those blue forms for you. I think our quote for today is quite appropriate. Retire from work, but not from life, right? So I look forward to talking to you all next month and find out the one step that you took to hone in on your purpose and get engaged. Take care. We'll see you next month.